What's going on, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. We are once again on NHL 20 and we'll be doing another career simulation. Today's video will be on Filip Zadina of the Detroit Red Wings. He was drafted by them 6th overall in the 2018 NHL entry draft and since then has been expected to be one of the long-term solutions for this struggling Detroit team. Filip Zadina so far in his career spent time between the NHL and the AHL, and as for his NHL numbers, he's only played in 37 games so far and has put up 9 goals and 9 assists for 18 points. Obviously this is nothing crazy, but you gotta keep in mind he is playing on a bottom tier team right now, and he is still very young right now with a lot of potential. So today on NHL 20 we will be simulating year by year and checking in on his stats as well as if he wins any awards. On the team I'm controlling, I will have it so that the CPU automatically handles trades and signings, so overall this entire simulation will be computer automated. So now with all this being said, let's look at how Filip Zadina is looking heading into the first year of this simulation. So heading into year number 1, the Detroit Red Wings have Filip Zadina starting on the second line at right wing, playing on a line with Robbie Fabry and Michael Rasmussen. Filip Zadina is currently 78 overall with medium elite potential, and his current role is a depth forward. His stats to start off are pretty solid, including 87 offensive awareness, 86 shot power, 85 speed, and 84 deking. Not too bad at all, and let's see if this will be enough to get Detroit back to the Stanley Cup playoffs and possibly take home the Calder Trophy for being the Rookie of the Year. Detroit, as expected, struggles in year number 1 and finishes 28th in the league and in range to possibly win the draft lottery. Filip Zadina in his first full year up in the NHL played in 79 games and in them scored 12 goals and 18 assists for 30 points on the year. Not an awful rookie season, but definitely not enough to win the Calder, as that goes to Martin Necas of the Carolina Hurricanes. Zadina ends up increasing up to an 80 overall, and hopefully Detroit gets a solid player in the draft to speed up this rebuild. Year number 2 sees some improvement, but not much from Detroit as they move up to just 25th in the league standings and once again missed out on the playoffs. Despite the Red Wings not having the best season, Filip Zadina does have a very solid one, scoring 20 goals and 36 assists for 56 points on the year, and with this we do see him increase up to an 85 overall heading into the last year of his current contract. Once again, the Detroit Red Wings missed out on the playoffs, this time after finishing 24th in the NHL. Filip Zadina once again one-ups his prior season. This year he scored 18 goals and 51 assists for 69 points on the year, and with this increases up to an 86 overall. Also in the draft the year before, the Red Wings picked Reed Rivera, who ends up winning the Calder this year after a 41-goal season and 66 points in total in his rookie year. Only problem with this is that he's also a right winger, and this may end up leading to Zadina not being the first-line right winger for Detroit in the future. Also, this was the last year of Zadina's current deal, and in the offseason he signs a big 8-year extension with the Red Wings worth $9.1 million per year. The Detroit Red Wings still suck and again are a bottom 10 team in the league. The Red Wings in year 4 finished 26th in the NHL and again do not see postseason hockey. Filip Zadina had another good year though that saw him play in 81 games and scored 23 goals and 40 assists for 63 points on the year, and with this he does increase up to an 87 overall, and hopefully the Red Wings do something to finally get back to the playoffs. So in year number 5, the Red Wings still suck and make no improvement in the standings and fall down to 27th in the league. As for Filip Zadina, he led the Red Wings in points this season, and in a full 82-game regular season, he scored 21 goals and 41 assists for 62 points on the year. Filip Zadina does increase in overall and is now up to an 88. For the second straight year, the Red Wings finished 27th in the league, and their playoff drought continues. Filip Zadina has another amazing year, this one is best yet, that sees him scored 37 goals and 51 assists for 88 points on the year. Filip Zadina is now up to a 90 overall, and I want to give you guys a quick update on this team before we get into next season. The first line has Quinton Byfield playing between 89 Reed Rivera and 90 overall Filip Zadina. From there on out, this team is pretty solid, and for some reason the Red Wings have 2 86 overalls on the fourth line. On defense, their first pairing is very solid, consisting of Colton Parayko and Ryan Pollock. They also have brought in Nudavara and Justin Schultz, and Moritz Seider is now up to an 83. As for their goaltending tandem, they have 83 overall Mackenzie Blackwood and 80 overall Eric Comrie in net. I don't know if it's just me, but this team in my opinion is not that bad, and hopefully can bring this team back to the playoffs next year. Year 7 sees some improvement for the first time in a while as the Red Wings finish 21st in the league, but do again miss out on the playoffs. Filip Zadina missed 10 games this season due to injury, and in the 72 he did end up playing in, he scored 20 goals and 50 assists for 70 points on the year. With all this, Zadina does decrease in overall this year, and he does drop to an 89. Finally, the Detroit Red Wings put together a good season for the first time in this simulation that sees them finishing 14th in the NHL and making the playoffs for the first time since 2016. The playoffs were pretty decent for Detroit as they knocked out the Flyers in the first round in 7 games, but fell to the Devils in the second round in 6. With this being a team that hasn't made the playoffs in over a decade, I don't think that's a bad run at all, and hopefully they build on this in the future. Filip Zadina once again led the Detroit Red Wings in points this year, scoring 31 goals and 42 assists for 73 regular season points, and in the playoffs was over a point per game as he scored 5 goals and 10 assists for 15 playoff points in 13 playoff games. With all this, Zadina remains at 89 overall, and hopefully Detroit keeps this up. For the second straight year, the Red Wings put together a good regular season, finishing 10th in the league and finding themselves back in the playoffs. Once again in the playoffs, they get out of the first round and fall in the second round, this time to the Buffalo Sabres in 5 games. Filip Zadina once again had another season in the same point range. This year he scored 22 goals and 51 assists for 73 points in the regular season, and in the playoffs was very solid, scoring 6 goals and 6 assists for 12 points in 10 playoff games. Once again, Zadina remains at 89 overall. Detroit once again with another pretty good regular season that has them finishing 16th in the NHL and back in the playoffs for the 3rd straight year. The playoffs again are the same story though, and has the Red Wings taking out the Bruins in round 1, but still not being able to get out of the second round as they fall this time to the Columbus Blue Jackets in 7 games. Filip Zadina had a huge regular season, scoring 27 goals and 56 assists for 83 regular season points, and in the playoffs was a point per game with 13 points in 13 games. After this big year for Zadina, we see him increasing overall up to a 91. So 10 years into his career now, Filip Zadina has played in 807 NHL games, scored 232 goals and 438 assists for 670 career points so far. Up until the last few years, Detroit has been brutal, but they're looking like they have turned things around, so hopefully Zadina gets a shot at the cup within the next few years. As for Zadina, he has been pretty good just about every season, and hopefully aside from just a cup, we do see him get some sort of personal award. The Red Wings' success is still present in the regular season as they finished 8th in the league, but that success is still not being translated to the playoffs. To no one's surprise, the Red Wings fell again in the second round of the playoffs, losing to the Washington Capitals in 7 games. In the last year of his current contract, Filip Zadina has another big season, this one seeing him score 25 goals and hit 60 assists for 85 points on the year. The playoffs were just as good to him as he scored 6 goals and 12 assists for 18 playoff points in 13 playoff games, and despite all this, he does drop an overall to an 89. In the offseason, he re-signs with the Red Wings on an 8-year deal worth $11.6 million per year. The Red Wings end up having a pretty mediocre year, but the Atlantic was so bad that they ended up sneaking into the playoffs despite finishing 21st in the league and with just 81 points. The playoffs were nothing special at all, and they fell to the Toronto Maple Leafs in just 6 games. Zadina's season saw him cool off a little bit due to injury, and in 72 games he scored 19 goals and 52 assists for 71 points in the regular season. In the short 6-game playoff run, he scored 2 goals and 3 assists for 5 points, and with all this remains at 89 overall. For the second straight season, the Detroit Red Wings finished 21st in the NHL, but this time it was not enough to make the postseason and ended their playoff streak at 5 years. Filip Zadina led the team in points with 74 after scoring 24 goals and 50 assists. Not a bad season, but we do see Zadina dropping overall back down to an 88. After a 1-year absence from the playoffs, the Red Wings turned things around and finished 12th in the league and back in the playoffs. The playoffs are the same as usual as Detroit knocked off the Senators but fell again in the second round, this time in 6 games to the Buffalo Sabres. Filip Zadina at 33 years old is still putting up big numbers as this year he scored 30 goals and 51 assists for 81 points and in the playoffs put up 5 goals and 3 assists for 8 points. Filip Zadina remains at 88 overall. After a bounce-back year the season before, this season sees the Red Wings fall back to mediocrity and finishing last in the entire NHL. Like the Red Wings, Filip Zadina had a bad year and we see his point production fall off quite a bit. In 82 games, Zadina scored 18 goals and 36 assists for 54 points on the year and drops down to an 85 overall. After hitting rock bottom, the Red Wings somehow turned things around in just 1 year and finished 7th in the league. In the playoffs, they went absolutely nowhere like usual and lost to the Sabres in the first round in 6 games. Filip Zadina had a bounce-back season, scoring 26 goals and 47 assists for 73 points on the year, and in the 6-game playoff run scored 2 goals and an assist. Good year for Zadina, but we do see him drop to an 84 overall, most likely due to his age. For the second straight year, the Red Wings are in the playoffs after finishing 13th in the NHL and, as per usual, fall early in the postseason. The Red Wings played the Leafs in the first round and fell to them in 7 games. Filip Zadina also slowed down a bit this year in scoring, putting up 19 goals and 40 assists for 59 points, and in the playoffs had 7 points in 7 games. With all this, Zadina remains at 84 overall. Year number 18 sees the Red Wings barely sneak into the playoffs after finishing 19th in the league and being swept by the Boston Bruins in the first round. Filip Zadina had a solid year, scoring 17 goals and 51 assists for 68 points, and in the playoffs scored 2 goals and an assist. With this, Zadina drops to an 83 overall. After being swept by the Boston Bruins the year before, the Red Wings end up coming back with their best regular season and playoffs so far in this simulation. Year 19 has the Wings finishing 6th in the NHL, as well as finally getting out of the second round and losing 1 game away from the Stanley Cup Finals to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Filip Zadina, in the last year of his current contract, scored 17 goals and 38 assists for 55 points in the regular season, and in the playoffs put up 2 goals and 9 assists for 11 points. Zadina drops to an 81 overall, and in the offseason signs a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Penguins worth $3.7 million. In their first year with Filip Zadina, the Pittsburgh Penguins finished 7th in the NHL and qualified for the Stanley Cup playoffs. In them, they swept the Washington Capitals but fell to the New York Rangers in 7 games in the second round. Filip Zadina, even at 39 years old, still putting up big seasons as he scored 17 goals and 43 assists for 60 points in the regular season, and in the playoffs put up 3 assists. Zadina remains at 81 overall, and in the offseason signs another 1-year deal, this time with the Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators with Filip Zadina made the playoffs after finishing 13th in the league, but end up losing to the Winnipeg Jets in the first round in just 6 games. Finally, we see Filip Zadina really fall back in production as he scored just 11 goals and 19 assists for 30 points, and in the playoffs had just 2 assists. Zadina drops to a 77 overall, and at 40 years old finally decides to retire. So after playing in 1,683 NHL games, Filip Zadina scored 455 NHL goals and 925 assists for 1,380 career NHL points, and sadly came up with 0 Stanley Cups or personal awards to show for it. Good career for Zadina, sadly he just didn't win anything. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know who you guys would like to see next, and yeah, I'll be seeing you guys next time. Peace.